And unfortunately, big tech, the most deep-pocketed, godlike technology in the world, is trying to convince young men that they can have a reasonable facsimile of life online. Why go through the pecking order of trying to establish friendships when you got Reddit and Discord? Why put on a tie and navigate the corporate world when you can trade crypto or stocks on Robinhood or Coinbase? And why would you go through the effort, the expense, and the potential rejection and humiliation of establishing a romantic relationship when you have...
After what feels like forever, an unfiltered guest finally left Bill Maher genuinely speechless, dropping scorching truth bombs right on his own set. Professor Galloway delivered a blunt breakdown of why American men are drifting away from traditional masculinity and towards something far softer. It's been a while since we've tackled a topic this bold, so stick around. This one sizzles from start to finish.
I mean, just for example, the number of men, I didn't realize this till I read the book, the percentage who live at home still, live with their parents. What are those numbers?
It's about 30% of men under the age of 25, 1 in 3 are still at home. 1 in 5 are still at home by the age of 30. So, yeah.
Is that economic or emotional or both?
Yes, it's one. Men aren't. I mean, effectively, what you have is they're up against this indomitable enemy, and that is 20% or 40% of the S&P is now 10 companies whose primary mission is to get you as glued to a screen for as long as possible. Any minute they can keep you on a screen longer is billions of dollars. And a young man's brain, which prefrontal cortex is less mature, is more susceptible to that need for dopa. So what we've literally done, Bill, is unwittingly built an economy which is dependent upon our ability to evolve a new species of asocial, asexual males.
I really appreciated the question Bill Maher raised when Professor Galloway discussed the growing number of adult men still living with their parents. It's an issue people often oversimplify. Sure, some men stay home for emotional reasons or close family ties, but for most, the driving force is economic pressure, and that pressure didn't appear overnight. Over the past decade, we've seen a steady cultural shift that has chipped away at traditional masculinity. Expectations for men have changed dramatically, yet the support systems around them haven't evolved with those expectations. Wages lag behind, career paths feel increasingly unstable, and men are told to stay strong while simultaneously hearing that their strength is somehow toxic. The result is a quiet but very real crisis. So when Maher pressed for clarity, it exposed a deeper truth: many men aren't failing. They're trying to...
And what you have is big tech, who is not our friend, is trying to sequester people, especially young men, from the most important thing in their life, and that is relationships. So, essentially...
The number one thing men are afraid of is girls.
Yeah.
It's not lightning, it's girls.
Yeah.
It's just, there's something about that rejection of going up to somebody, like you say, cold, and you just have to get through that. And I feel like we are further from that than ever. I mean, kids don't even want to answer the phone.
Yeah.
They find that a little too alarming, unless you text first.
40...
Really, because that's passive, because you answer, nobody sees you, they don't see your reaction, you don't have to come up with conversation.
100%. 45% of men 18 to 24 have never asked a woman out in person. 63% of men under the age of 30 are not even pursuing a relationship. And if you think about the most rewarding things in your life, I mean, the things that really matter, they are essentially relationships. What do they all have in common? They're really damn hard.
One reason relationships feel so incredibly difficult today is that a modern strain of feminism has led many to believe that women don't need men at all. Now, feminism in its true form, equal rights, equal opportunities, equal respect, is unquestionably positive. But in recent years, a loud and influential wave has pushed the idea to an extreme that distorts its original purpose. Instead of genuine empowerment, it often turns into a blanket dismissal of men. Hollywood and the broader entertainment world have only intensified this, repeatedly promoting narratives through movies, shows, and celebrity commentary that portray men as optional, disposable, or inherently problematic. This cultural shift hasn't just influenced opinions, it has reshaped expectations and the way people approach relationships. As both men and women try to make sense of this new landscape, the gap between them feels wider than ever, leaving many confused.
And unfortunately, big tech, the most deep-pocketed, godlike technology in the world, is trying to convince young men that they can have a reasonable facsimile of life online. Why go through the pecking order of trying to establish friendships when you got Reddit and Discord? Why put on a tie and navigate the corporate world when you can trade crypto or stocks on Robinhood or Coinbase? And why would you go through the effort, the expense, and the potential rejection and humiliation of establishing a romantic relationship when you have...
Galloway is absolutely right. In all of this, big tech isn't some innocent bystander at one of the major contributors. Over the past decade, tech companies have designed platforms that keep people glued to their screens instead of connected to one another. The result has been a sharp rise in loneliness, anxiety, and depression, especially among young men who already feel isolated. Instead of forming real relationships, many retreat into digital spaces that offer quick bursts of validation, but no genuine human connection. And with the rise of AI companions and chatbots, the situation has only intensified. These tools are built to mimic emotional support, making it even easier to avoid the vulnerability and effort required for real relationships. It's convenient, sure, but profoundly isolating. Technology promised to bring us closer.
I believe, slowly but surely, we're going to start to see fewer and fewer young men out in the wild because they're going to decide to sequester. And if I could say anything to young men, it's that the anxiety and depression you will eventually feel in your basement sequestered from other mammals is far greater than the fear of anything that lays outside of that room for you. Get out of the basement, get off your phone.
Did you notice Maher's silence at the end of that clip? It was striking. For once, he didn't have a clever comeback or fast rebuttal. Galloway had already laid out the truth with such blunt clarity that there wasn't much left to say. You could almost see Maher absorbing it in real time. And honestly, that silence said more than any joke or monologue he could have delivered. Young men today aren't drifting because they're lazy or uninterested. They're overwhelmed, undervalued, and struggling to find a meaningful sense of purpose. That's why Galloway's message hits so hard. We need to start encouraging young men to step outside, build genuine relationships, take risks, and engage with the world instead of disappearing into video games, social media, and digital escape routes. Life is happening right outside their door. They just need guidance, support, and a reminder that they have a place in it.
What is the panel's reaction to the turmoil at the BBC over how they edited Trump's January 6th comments? Well, they did do him dirty. There's no doubt about it. They purposely put together something to make it look like he didn't say what he said.
The tragedy is what he said was bad enough. Why did you have to doctor it? I mean, I don't understand it.
It was, well, because that one to me was never a smoking gun. Now, do I think he should have handled January 6th differently? Very much so, I do. But it was always, you can pull out the thing where he says peaceful protest. He uses the word peaceful. It was always murky. To me, the crime was always simply never conceding the election.
And calling up the Georgia Secretary of State and saying, find me 11,000 votes.
But that wasn't that day.
Yeah. And waiting for like 3 hours to try to call the mob off.
Right, but I'm talking from the whole time the election was over till this very moment, he still hasn't done it.
I know Bill Maher stepping in to defend Donald Trump probably rubbed a lot of people on the left the wrong way. But truth doesn't bend to political preferences, and that's exactly the point. If you claim to stand for truth, it shouldn't matter whether it comes from someone you admire or someone you can't stand. Truth is truth, regardless of the messenger. That's why Maher's moment of honesty stood out. He didn't defend Trump because he suddenly switched sides or abandoned his long-standing criticisms. He did it because, in that particular moment, Trump was being misrepresented, and Maher refused to go along with the distortion. Whether you agree with him or not, that kind of consistency is rare in today's hyper-tribal politics. It takes guts to call things as they are, especially when it risks angering your own side, and that's exactly what Maher did.
Traditional media does a better job of fact. Don't we hold them to an entirely different standard? Fox News knows that they're spreading misinformation about voting machines being weaponized by Hugo Chavez. They knew it was a lie. They continued to promote that misinformation. They get fined $750 million. What happened on Fox was a dumpster fire compared to the nuclear mushroom cloud that happens every 3 minutes on social media. 2/3 of Americans get their news from social media, and yet they are held to absolutely no standards. And when the BBC fucks up, we are hairs on fire. Why on earth are we not applying anything resembling the same standards for algorithmically elevated content to these quote-unquote nascent platforms? I get that the BBC screwed up, but by that standard, where we're getting 2/3 of our news screws up about 1 million times a second.
Mainstream media has the manpower, funding, and institutional strength to thoroughly investigate stories and verify facts long before anything goes public. They have entire teams, editors, researchers, producers whose sole job is to ensure accuracy. Independent creators on social media, however, rarely have that kind of support. Many are solo operators or small teams working with limited time, limited resources, and far less access. So expecting them to meet the exact same investigative standards as major media outlets just isn't realistic. That doesn't mean social media influencers deserve a free pass to spread misinformation, far from it. They still bear responsibility for what they publish. But the heavier burden, the greater obligation, has to fall on the institutions built for this very purpose. When mainstream media, with all its resources, gets it wrong or misleads the public, the damage runs far deeper. That's why they must be held to a higher, stricter, and more consistent.
Nero, let's make the Father's Day we just celebrated the last one that takes place in a culture where dads have become such punching bags. Literally the last demographic group that TV, ads, and movies can still depict as clueless, useless dipshits. Basically just another child that mom has to look after. Every sitcom is, tonight on ABC, Larry burns down the house. And the tagline in the commercial for every household product is basically, because your husband is a
Exactly, and that's the point I was trying to make earlier. TV shows, movies, and especially commercials have played a major role in shaping a softer, often diminishing portrayal of men over the past several years. It's subtle but constant. Men are repeatedly depicted as clueless, irresponsible, emotionally inept, or simply unnecessary. The bumbling dad, the incompetent husband, the man-child who needs someone else to fix everything. These tropes have become so common they're practically background noise. Over time, they start to sink in. When a culture regularly mocks men just for being men, it chips away at confidence, identity, and a sense of worth. What began as harmless humor has evolved into a narrative, and that narrative has real consequences. It's discouraging to watch a society that once valued male strength, leadership.
I'm not sure when this trend started, but I'm going to blame the 1987 movie 3 Men and a Baby. The premise of which is that 3 grown men can't manage to keep a baby alive. The same year gave us Married with Children, with its idiot shoe salesman of a father, followed by an endless parade of eye-roll, short-bus dads, Homer Simpson, Family Guy, Modern Family, Malcolm in the Middle, Everybody Loves Raymond, Home Improvement, according to Jim. And it's not just the old-school broadcast TV sitcoms. It's everywhere. It's highbrow streaming stuff, it's major motion pictures, it's minor motion pictures. It's in everything.
And that's absolutely true. Hollywood has played a major role in the long, steady softening of men, driven largely by left-leaning ideological narratives woven into movies, TV shows, and celebrity messaging. For years, masculinity was framed as toxic, outdated, or laughable, something to mock rather than something to respect. Now, suddenly, the same industry that spent a decade dismantling traditional male identity seems eager to reverse course. They're trying to celebrate strength again, promote positive male role models, and restore a sense of purpose for young American men. But let's be honest, it feels a little late after years of undermining and ridiculing masculinity. The cultural impact is already deep. Young men are confused, directionless, and unsure of what society expects from them anymore. Hollywood played a part in creating this problem. Fixing it won't happen overnight if it happens.
I know. I don't have any kids. I made a different choice in life and decided to have money. You're not lying. But all these shows, They can't all be lying about what it's like to have kids.
Your EQ is off the charts, Nick.
Aha, Nick. I'm Nick now. What happened to Dad?
Well, I don't know, Nick. What happened to Dad?
You're an asshole. Hate coming here.
Why are you acting so dickish? I mean, it is only $10.
Bro, do you hear how they talk to me? Do you hear how you gotta say something?
Whoa, hold on. When are you guys planning on coming home?
By 11 or 12?
Yeah, same.
You know you both have school tomorrow.
Ah, that's true. We do. Yeah, he's right.
Solid parenting, Dad. Come on.
When you look at all these points together, a clear picture starts to form. Masculinity in America didn't just collapse on its own, it'd been worn down gradually by a perfect storm of cultural shifts, media narratives, ideological extremes, and technological distractions. Professor Galloway simply voiced what millions have been feeling but haven't had the platform to express. Hollywood mocked men for years, tech isolated them, and certain strands of modern feminism dismissed them entirely. At the same time, mainstream media often steered the conversation without acknowledging its influence, or the fallout it caused. So when Bill Maher sat in silence, it wasn't accidental, it was acknowledgement. The truth had been laid bare. Young men aren't the villains, they're the ones trying to navigate a society that has blurred the lines of identity, purpose, and value. Restoring balance means helping them reconnect with real life, real people, and real purpose. It means correcting cultural excesses rather than doubling down on them. And above all, it means telling the truth, even when it's inconvenient for your own side. And that brings us to the end of today's video.